You know someone like this, full of brilliant ideas, grand dreams, and a spark in their eyes that suggests they were born for something extraordinary. They talk about incredible projects and live in a world of possibilities, yet nothing ever truly materializes. Every failure has an excuse: wrong timing, wrong people, or simply that the world doesn't understand them. Maybe he's a childhood friend, a younger brother, your boyfriend, or even your father. Despite his age, he seems frozen in time. An adult who still acts like a boy, emotionally unstable, afraid of commitment, always chasing freedom and fleeing from real responsibility. And maybe, just maybe, a part of you still hopes he'll change. Carl Jung called this psychological pattern the pure eternus, the eternal boy. It's the archetype of someone who refuses to grow up, living always in a state of becoming, never being. He dazzles with youthful energy, creativity, spontaneity, but behind the charm hides a shadow, the inability to handle real life. The poor expects the world to shape itself around his wishes. Others are supposed to fix what he won't face. He dreams of the perfect woman, the perfect job, the perfect life. And when reality doesn't meet those dreams, he runs. He breaks things off, he walks away, and the cycle begins again. He sees himself as too special for the dullness of routine, when really he's frozen by the fear of failure, of frustration, of adulthood. If you've ever tried to help someone like this, you know how exhausting it is. You get tired of giving advice that goes unheard, of offering help that gets wasted, of trying to move someone who deep down doesn't want to move. And worst of all, he makes you feel guilty, as if you're wrong for expecting him to grow up, for not settling for a life of almost. But the truth must be said. This man is trapped, caught in a fantasy of freedom that is really a prison built from fear and immaturity. And if he doesn't wake up, he will grow old without ever having truly lived. This isn't an attack, it's a mirror. And if you're still watching, something in you recognizes this pattern, maybe in someone else, maybe in yourself. The journey of the pure eternus doesn't have to end in stagnation, but it only shifts when the truth is faced directly. Let's talk about that. The pure eternus isn't just a personality type. It's a powerful archetype, an unconscious force that shapes the inner lives of countless men. It's often mistaken for charisma, spontaneity, or a free spirit. But beneath that light surface lies something deeper, a refusal to grow up. Carl Jung found this pattern in patience, in myths, in stories across time. The pure is the one who won't leave the paradise of childhood, the psychic womb of the mother, where everything is safe, provided, and protected. He clings to the hope of a grand future that never arrives, the eternal son, the chosen one, the gifted soul. Yet he never takes true responsibility for his life. You've seen it. Men who bounce from job to job, always chasing something more meaningful, who begin new ventures with fire but abandon them at the first setback, who fall madly in love, then disappear the moment maturity is required, who talk about spirituality, self-knowledge, freedom, but can't pay a bill on time or stay committed for more than a season. And it's not about lack of intelligence or ability. The pure is often gifted, sensitive, full of potential, deeply creative, wildly imaginative. But because of this, he lives in a dream world, avoiding the heaviness of real life. He wants to fly without building wings. He wants love without the weight of relationship, success without effort, the rewards of adulthood without the cost of growing up. And when the world doesn't play along, he blames the system, his parents, society, never himself. Jung said the poor suffers from a detachment from time. He's always in the not now, waiting for the perfect idea, the perfect partner, the right moment. He lives in the future, never in the present. And for that reason, he doesn't live. He drifts, nourished by dreams that eventually become burdens. But there's another side, because the poor, for all his immaturity, also holds something essential. He is the source of inner youth, of creative vision, of life's reinvention. If what you're hearing resonates with you, take a moment to share your thoughts below. Who came to mind as you listened? Or did something in yourself feel exposed? Leave a comment. We're all part of this conversation. The issue isn't the boy within the man. It's when that boy takes the wheel. And this is where things begin to shift, when the bright charm of the poor fades and his shadow begins to take control. Let's talk now about the darker side of the man-child, and how, quietly, he unravels everything around him. There's something undeniably magnetic about a man ruled by the pure eternus. He seems light, spontaneous, poetic. He dreams big, speaks as if he's from another world, and lives like he answers to no one. He avoids rules, rejects labels, and clings to nothing. To many, that's captivating. Who wouldn't be drawn to someone who seems so free in a world full of duty, burden, and stale routine? But this is the trap. That freedom is an illusion, a crafted mask hiding his deepest fear, reality. The pure isn't free. He's on the run, fleeing pain, rejection, aging, failure, anything that requires grounded responsibility. Every job he turns down, every decision he delays, every commitment he shrugs off, only deepens the prison he pretends is autonomy. You've seen this. He says conventional work is beneath him, that he's meant for something greater. But the truth? He's terrified of structure, hierarchy, and routine. He says love is a cage, but really, it's vulnerability that scares him. The idea of being fully seen, accountable, held. He says he despises rules, but what he really fears are limits. The freedom he sells to the world is often just a refusal to face life's demands. He wants to remain untouched, eternal light, floating above it all, always in motion, like a balloon in the wind. But time moves on, and the world eventually asks something of him. Carl Jung said the pure eternus floats in suspension, never fully here, never fully grounded. He resists putting down roots, resists the hard earth of reality. But nothing can grow without roots, nothing flourishes without effort, and nothing transforms without pain. Real freedom isn't the absence of boundaries, it's the strength to choose where you place your devotion. But the poor does not choose, he evades. And that evasion doesn't just cost him, it damages those around him. This is where things begin to break, when a life of promise becomes a trail of destruction. Let's step into the shadow this archetype casts, and see how it slowly eats away at everything nearby. At first, he's intoxicating. The poor shines. He radiates passion, energy, unpredictability. But over time, the light fades. What once felt like lightness becomes absence. What was sensitivity becomes instability. And what seemed like freedom, it was escape all along. This is the shadow of the man-child, subtle and slow. It shows up in missed appointments, unpaid bills, broken promises. He constantly changes his mind. He forgets, avoids, withdraws. But he wraps it all in poetic words. I'm just not ready. I need time. I don't want to force anything. The truth is more painful. He's afraid. Afraid of failure, of being ordinary, of being seen and judged. So he retreats. And in that retreat, he sabotages everything that requires maturity. Romantic partners suffer, caught between love for who he could be and pain from who he is. He says he wants a future, but never walks toward it. He says he loves, but disappears when it counts. Family watches with heavy hearts as he wastes his potential. Friends grow tired of the same cycle, the hope, the collapse, the excuses. And behind it all is a suffocating truth. He can't move forward, trapped in a loop of emotional adolescence. Like all archetypes, this shadow feeds on the unconscious. He doesn't see the damage. Worse, he believes he's the one being wronged. He blames the world for being dull, structured, closed-minded. He accuses those who grew up of betraying freedom. And so, he isolates further, convinced he's staying true to himself, when really, he's a prisoner of fear. Jung said we don't find light by imagining it. We find it by making the darkness conscious. The shadow of the poor cannot be ignored. It must be faced. The issue isn't that he carries a child within, but that the child becomes a tyrant, quietly sabotaging the possibility of a grounded, meaningful life. And this sabotage runs deep, because the pure is rarely alone. Behind him is often a silent force that feeds his avoidance and anchors him in immaturity, the symbolic mother. No pure eternus appears from nowhere. Almost every man who resists growing up is shaped by the presence, sometimes gentle, sometimes smothering, of someone who shields him from the world, but also keeps him from engaging with it. In Jungian psychology, this figure is the archetypal mother. When her influence becomes excessive, She transforms into what Jung called the devouring mother, not one who gives life, but one who unconsciously traps it. This mother may be literal, the overprotective parent who does everything for her son, catches him every time he stumbles, and never lets him face the consequences of his own actions. Or she may be symbolic, a partner who assumes the role of caretaker, a grandmother, a feminine figure who provides endless comfort while expecting unspoken, lifelong loyalty in return. And so, the Puer doesn't seek a partner. He searches for a replacement mother, someone who will understand without questioning, accept without challenging, support without boundaries. This relationship may feel safe, but it is quietly devastating. It blocks the confrontation with life. As long as someone is taking care of him, he has no need to decide, to act, to mature. He stays suspended in emotional childhood, waiting for women around him to fix what he refuses to confront. The responsibilities of adulthood. Even the symbolic mother often becomes trapped in this pattern. She believes she is nurturing, loving, but in truth, she is sustaining a psychic dependency that slowly depletes them both. Jung warned, the greatest psychological tragedy is when the mother refuses to let the child be born. In other words, the body grows older, but the psyche remains small, forever seeking comfort, never developing roots. This becomes even more painful in relationships. The Puer falls in love quickly, idealizing his partner, projecting onto her impossible hopes as if she were the key to healing every unspoken wound. But as soon as real intimacy is required, commitment, responsibility, depth, he withdraws. He sabotages the connection or blames the other for the collapse. The truth: he was never looking for an equal. He was looking for a mother in disguise. Breaking free from this dynamic is never easy. It takes pain, it takes distance, it takes cutting the psychic umbilical cord. But that rupture, difficult as it is the beginning of real growth. Maturing is painful, but staying immature is far worse. Eventually, the mask wears thin. The bright future that never came becomes a weight. The relationships lost, the dreams left unfinished, begin to take a toll. And then the man, still ruled by the pure Eternus, must finally ask, how long will I live as if I have forever? This is the turning point, the moment when the pain of immaturity outweighs the fear of growing up. But make no mistake, the journey to maturity is not easy. Jung was clear. Individuation, the process of becoming truly oneself, is a psychic birth. And like any birth, it is marked by pain, blood, and symbolic death. It begins by letting fantasy collapse, by seeing that life will not wait for your readiness, that there is no perfect moment, that no one is coming to rescue you, and that the real world, flawed and unpredictable, is not your enemy. It is the only place where something true can begin. Growing up is not a betrayal of your essence. It is the very act of building it. But to do so, one must be willing to mourn, the mourning of the idealized boy, the mourning of the life you once imagined, the mourning of promises that were never fulfilled, and above all, the mourning of the symbolic mother. Killing the boy within doesn't mean smothering your creativity, your lightness, or your dreaming soul. It means no longer allowing him to lead your life. It is letting the boy remain, but now under the guidance of the man. Maturity requires construction, structure, consistency. It means saying no when it would be easier to run, committing even when you long for escape, working with focus even in the absence of inspiration, staying present in love even when the fantasy has faded. It means trading the thrill of constant novelty for the quiet, transformative power of continuity. And here lies the hidden truth. When the pure is integrated into the adult, he doesn't vanish, he transforms. He becomes the wellspring of creativity, of vision, of intuition. But now, it flows through a grounded, mature psyche, capable of acting with purpose in the real world. That is true rebirth, when the eternal boy stops fleeing from reality and begins to co-create with it. But this transformation does not happen by accident. It is not effortless. Many men at this point in the journey feel lost, drained, unsure of how to take control of their own lives. They sense that something must change, that the time for psychic childhood is over, but they don't yet know how to begin. That is why this conversation continues. Because the next part of this journey is for those who are standing at the threshold, those who are ready to change but haven't yet stepped forward. The time of truth has arrived, and the decision to grow, it's now in your hands. If you've made it this far, it's because something in you recognizes the urgency of this message. Maybe you saw someone else in these words. Maybe you saw yourself. There is no shame in that. None. We all carry the temptation to stay children in a world that demands maturity. We've all avoided something, hoped for shortcuts, waited to feel ready. But life does not wait. It demands. It tests. It strips away illusions. And eventually, it brings each of us to a single, difficult choice. Remain stuck in the world of potential, or finally cross the bridge into the world of fulfillment. And that crossing? It doesn't come when you're comfortable. It comes when you choose, deliberately, courageously, to stop running. Jung once said, "The person who does not confront their own demons will be condemned to meet them at every corner of life." The poor Eternus is one of those demons, charming, poetic, gifted, but corrosive. He hides behind the mask of freedom, authenticity, misunderstood genius. But left unchecked, he sabotages everything you try to build. He will not fade on his own. He must be faced, integrated, and ultimately transcended. Maturity begins the moment you stop waiting to be saved and start saving yourself. When you understand that responsibility isn't a cage, it's your path to power, and that freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's the inner strength to choose what is necessary. Now, I want to hear from you. Which part of this video struck a chord with you? Be honest. Leave a comment below. Sometimes writing it down is the first step to understanding what's been stirring inside. And if this message resonated with you, share it with someone who's stuck, someone who might be lost in the same cycle and doesn't even know it yet. And don't stop here. The next video is just as essential as this one. It reveals another piece of the puzzle, another layer of the transformation. Keep going. It may challenge you, but it will also free you. And in the end, that's what matters. Real freedom.